Good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes. This is my daily journal video for, well, it's 5:07 in the morning, October the 12th, Wednesday, 2022. And I'm sitting in a new room, in a new hostel, in a new city. I'm staying at a hostel in Kuala Lumpur, and I arrived yesterday afternoon at about 1:30 in the afternoon. I took an Aeroline bus from Georgetown, Penang. Well, from Penang. The bus didn't actually leave from Georgetown. I had to get to the bus station first. I was in a different part of Penang. And then I took the bus. It was a 5-hour ride, like, as I said, on the Aeroline bus, kind of a upscale, kind of a luxury bus. And it took 5 hours to get down here to Kuala Lumpur. And yeah, that was an amazing bus ride. I mean, I shot a video on the bus as best I could. I had a ton of technology problems, GoPro battery breaking, filming with the Insta360 One X2, and for some reason it recorded no audio for almost all of the video that I shot, so I lost all of that. You know, but I muddled through and I did my best. And in that video, of course, I showcase the Aeroline bus, what it's like. Does it really live up to the level of a luxury bus? You know, in terms of the, just the physical setting of the bus and the service that you get from the staff. And, you know, is it worth the premium price that you pay for taking that bus? And yeah, for me, yes, it was definitely worth it, but that is partially because the view I got was spectacular. The way these buses are built is glass everywhere, like a massive windshield wrapped around the front from way down low, like all the way to the top. The way they designed the bus, the support, you know, for the roof of the bus and the walls, everything, they clearly thought about how to maximize the view, and they minimized all the blocks, you know. They just tried to put in as much glass as possible. And if you happen to be sitting in the very front seat, there's 2 seats there, like right in front of the windshield. I mean, the windshield is right here, like a hand's width or hand's length from your face. And there's this massive wraparound windshield. Then you see the entire world ahead of you. And nobody wanted those seats. None of the local people wanted them, because the sun comes in and hits those seats and it can get a bit warm up there. And of course the Malaysians have taken this bus or similar buses on the same trip, Penang to Kuala Lumpur to Penang, many times in their lives, and they're not that concerned about the view. So they're like, well, yeah, I'm not. When they book their seat, their ticket, and you can choose a seat, everybody avoided those seats. Nobody wanted them. All the front seats were unoccupied. So when I went to book my ticket, the front seats were the only ones available. And I originally booked the single front seat because the seats are in 2 sections. There are 2 seats together down the right, and then a row of single seats down the left, which I guess rather than having 2 and 2, you have 2 and 1. You can increase the width of the seats, right? It just makes it a more comfortable environment. So I chose the single seat. Made sense because I'm on my own, and yeah, I just did. But then when I got on the bus, I really liked my single seat, the one at the very front, seat 4A. But as the bus got underway, I noticed that the 2 front seats, like the absolute front seats, they were unoccupied. Nobody was sitting in them. And I asked if I could move to those seats, and, you know, the attendant said, sure, you know, sit anywhere you like. And I moved up there, and then I had, you know, one of the most glorious bus rides of my life. And in the end, it was very much worth it to me for so many reasons. I think a regular bus is 35 ringgit, and this bus was 60 ringgit. So you're paying an extra, like $5 US to take this bus as opposed to the ordinary bus. And for that, you get a lot. They have a waiting room at the bus office, like where you get on the bus. They have a waiting room which is air conditioned, so you can wait inside in comfort. while you're waiting for the bus. You take an ordinary bus, you're out on the street, probably in the hot sun, getting sweaty before you board the bus. Or you might be at a very busy and kind of dirty and crowded bus station. So getting on the bus was nice. And then on the bus itself, I mean, I won't go into all the details because I do in the video, but comfortable seat, you get a entertainment screen packed with movies and documentaries and music and all kinds of shows. Anything you might want to watch is on there. Everything worked. I tested everything because it has 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks built into the screen, and I tested it with my own earphones, delivered sound. You can control the volume up and down. And they provide what looked to be quite high quality headphones. Anybody that wanted headphones, they came up and down, the attendant brought them out and offered them to everyone, just like you're on a jet, basically. Built into the screen was a USB charger, so you can use that to charge your phone, camera batteries, whatever you want. And there was an electrical outlet down near the floor, so you can plug things in there. It was a UK style plug, the big 3-pronger. Above my head was a nice control panel. You can control the air conditioning, whether the air is blowing right down on you, or you can adjust the size of the air stream. And there's lights up there, bright light, a dimmer, like that reading light, and then there's a dimmer sort of night light. You can choose, which ones you want. When the bus, after like in maybe 40 minutes into the ride, an hour, they served a breakfast. So I got fried mee and scrambled eggs. That was fine. Yeah, the mee was very tasty. It was warm, nice and hot. And it was spicy, had a nice flavor to it. Scrambled eggs were good. Can't complain about that. And a few minutes after breakfast was over, everyone had a chance to eat their breakfast. They came up with a drink service. The attendant came to every seat to take your order. I think they just had tea or coffee, but you could ask for, whichever type of coffee you wanted, white coffee. So I ordered the white coffee, and it was nice and hot. I guess on a bus, a moving vehicle of any kind, you tend not to get like a full mug, because if the cup is full to the brim, of course it sloshes over. No matter how careful you are, it's going to spill. So you always get these paper cups, and at first I look at it and go, oh yeah, nice cup of coffee, but of course it's always half full. And that's always disappointing. But then as soon as you start, like I was adding some sugar and some creamer and some different things and stirring it like a mad scientist in his lab. And meanwhile, you're rocking from side to side and you're balancing, the cup like it's about to explode or something. And then you're happy that it's only half full, because otherwise, yeah, it'd be spilling all over the place. But it was nice and hot to the point where I couldn't really hold the paper cup at first, because, the water inside was so hot. So yes. that made me happy. Yeah, there's tons more I could say about the bus experience, but that's all in the video that I shot. I went into a lot of detail, of course, trying to answer the question, is it worth it to pay the premium? And for me, like I said, I got to sit in the front, and that view was spectacular. I could have sat there, 10 hours instead of 5 hours and just enjoyed the ride. It's so much fun up there too, because you're up high looking down on everything, and all these people on quite small engine scooters are zipping along on this big highway, with the throttle wide open. They're leaning over trying to get as aerodynamic as possible because they want to get all the speed out of that scooter. But of course it's running on a 100cc engine or something. They're pushing it to the max, but you're looking right down on them and you hear that mosquito whine of their engine, and you watch them going by. Just all the little things you can watch as you go along. Yeah, enjoyed the ride quite a bit. A friend of mine, someone that I've gotten to know through YouTube, met me at the drop-off point here. The Aeroline bus picks you up at the Queens Bay Mall in Penang. They have a little office there. That's where you get the bus, which is kind of it depends where you are in the city. How close you are to their offices. You have to get there first, and that added an extra expense for me because I ended up having to take a Grab. I was going to take a city bus, but the timing was way off. I was checking the schedule online, and the bus wasn't going to show up for, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half. It was crazy, and there's no way it would have got me to the bus on time. So at the last minute, I had to switch tactics and get a grab. Long story, it's in the original video, and but I got there no problem. Got there early because I had been planning to take the bus, and now I took a grab, and it got me there like that. So I had a lot of time, you know, there just to relax and wait. I was there before the offices opened. I was there before the airline staff, you know, which I don't mind, to be honest. And then when it comes to Kuala Lumpur, it goes to the Chorus Hotel, which is like right downtown in the main business district, kind of very near the Petronas Towers. You know, you're just surrounded by skyscrapers on all sides. You're like as a little human being down there getting off your bus. You're dwarfed by these massive buildings all around you. So it's an interesting experience, a big change for me going from, you know, Mesot, and even in Bangkok, I didn't go to the downtown area with all the high buildings. I was always out in, you know, along the river, low buildings. And then, you know, Georgetown, Penang has a lot of high apartment buildings, actually, now that I think about it. But again, it's very different from Kuala Lumpur. So I was suddenly in the midst of giants, these huge buildings. So where was I in my story? Oh yes, my friend picked me up at the Chorus Hotel, and I had arranged to stay at a hostel here, the same place where my bicycle, my camping equipment, my extra electronics, camera lenses, everything is in storage here. That's been, you know, a big theme of my life. I had to come back to Kuala Lumpur to deal with it, and I got a room here at the same hostel where I used to stay and where all of my stuff is stored. And I guess that will make up the rest of this story, because that is the story of yesterday, really. There's the bus ride and then arriving here. And this place is a budget, it used to be a kind of a budget artists, travelers, hippie kind of place. The original owner was a young Malaysian man named Willie, and he developed this place. He had a real vision for it as a home for travelers, the true travelers, you know, the world wanderers who who travel with a guitar and play music and write poetry and paint, and the artists, basically. It was like an artist collective is how he developed this place. And it was like that for a long time. And then he moved his operation. It was called the Bird Nest at that time. And then for whatever reason, he decided to move to a new building, and he moved the Bird Nest, you know, the artist collective, to a new building just a couple of blocks away. And another owner took over this place, changed the name, and changed the vibe quite a bit. It still felt a bit backpackery and artisty because it had all the paintings on the wall. They all remained. But the new owner ran it as more of a standard hostel, and because of her nationality and her background, you know, the type of people that stayed here changed. But I continued on. Every time I came back to Kuala Lumpur, I would stay here, you know, at the old Bird Nest with the new name. It was called Natalia's for a while. And then came the pandemic, and other things occurred, so that Natalia, the owner, had to leave Malaysia and go home for a while. And then while she was gone, someone else took management of the place. And during the pandemic, of course, there were no travelers, there were no backpackers, so they converted it more for long-term guests. I suppose immigrant workers and students, perhaps, I don't really know. But people who would stay here and pay by the month and just stay month after month after month, rather than, you know, nightly guests. And with the new owner, he's more of a hands-off kind of guy, I think. It's not like there's no staff here. There's no front desk, there's no reception, there's nobody here. You just have a bunch of people who rent rooms by the month. And I rented this room for 1 month as well. And we just look after ourselves for the most part. So that means it's a little bit rough around the edges. It was always rough. I mean, it's a low budget place, but now it's even rougher. And settling into a place like this, it's kind of fun in a way. It's fun for me. I've spent much of my life in low budget rooms like this. And I often go back to the same hotels, you know, or the same hostels on multiple occasions. And when I come back to these places, I can look around and see the little additions that I made. For example, I'm crazy about hooks. And if rooms and bathrooms don't have any hooks, I go out and buy them and I put them in. And that's the case here. You know, I just took my shower and then I was looking at the door on the inside of the bathroom, and there was like a metal framework that you can hang over the top of the door. It has all these, you know, like 6 or 7 hooks, metal hooks attached to it. And I put that in there, you know, long time ago. And in all the rooms that I stayed in, I would buy one of these things that you can hang over the door, and it gives you, 7 new hooks to hang things on. And I do things like that. When I return to a hostel, I can see all these things, or I screw hooks into the wood. You got those, to hang things up. And I get little pieces of furniture and bookshelves or whatever I can find cheaply if I stay in a place for a long time. And I was communicating with this new owner to arrange to stay here in advance through WhatsApp, but I'd never met the guy. I didn't know who he was, and he wasn't very communicative online. He didn't like to write a lot. Some people just don't do that. So I wasn't quite sure what kind of a person he was. But then when I showed up here and I met him, very nice guy, very friendly, very helpful, straight to the point. He saw me, big smile, hey, welcome, you made it. Popped open the door, brought me up, and grabbed a key and said, well, this room is the one room we have available right now, so here you are. And it's actually, well, I mean, every room has its quirks. This room is good. I'm not going to do a tour of the place. I save that for the other videos. This is just the journal. I have to keep it simple. So I'm looking at the room. I'm not going to show it to you right now. You'll have to wait until the actual video comes out on Planet Doug. But this is a big room, has 3 beds in it, 3 single beds. It used to be their dorm room. So all the other rooms are like singles or doubles, but this was the largest room, and then they would have like 3 people staying in here, like three strangers living together, paying a much lower rate to stay in a dorm. And that's what this room was. But I have it all to myself, of course. I'm paying for a private room. So I have 3 beds, one that I'm sleeping in, and this is also my office, basically. My bed always becomes my office these days. And then there's 2 more beds, and I have all my gear spread out over those 2 beds. They have Wi-Fi here, which is nice. Since it's not really a hotel right now, I was worried there wouldn't be Wi-Fi, but there seems to be Wi-Fi, and it's working. And maybe this room, there's a little bit of a problem with it. Well, it's not a problem. It's something you have to adapt to. There's a loft directly above it. So my ceiling is the floor of the loft up above. And there are people or one person sleeping and living up there. And I don't know what they're doing. I think they're assembling cars or something. It feels like there's a factory up there. A lot of banging and crashing and stomping around. There's a lot of activity up there. Luckily, I have my little bedside bag with me at all times, packed with earplugs. It's the only way I'm going to sleep. So I just pop in the earplugs. And this place has wooden floors, which are very scenic. Wooden floors always look nice, but they're very loud. So as people walk up and down the hall to go to the bathroom and back to their rooms, because it's only shared bathrooms here, none of the rooms have a private bathroom. It's only shared. So there's a lot of walking back and forth, and there's always the people that thump. I'm a very delicate walker. I'm aware of the noises I make as I walk around, so I try to be gentle and I don't bang as I walk. But the average person isn't paying attention, and it's just like thump, 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 thump. And you get the door slammers, I'm very careful about opening and closing doors, particularly at night or in the morning. But the average person in the world, I find, they slam doors and noise carries here, so you need the earplugs. No air conditioning. Again, this is a very budget room, fan only. You might be able to hear it. And fans come with their own challenge. I find I can adapt to a room like this, like a non-aircon room. I'm used to it. And after a while, you really get accustomed to it. You learn to live without air conditioning. But the fans, you leave them running all night. And like this morning, the back of my throat is a little bit rough because as you're sleeping, the air is blowing over you and it goes into your nose, and then just all night long air is like being blown into your nose, and it dries out your nasal passages and the place where your nasal passages meet your throat. That kind of gets dried out during the night because the air is blowing on you constantly. And yeah, I've tried in the past to lie this way, put my head in the other direction so the fan isn't hitting me in the face, but it doesn't seem to matter. No matter how you orient your head, the air flow still manages to just get into your throat and then just dry everything out, and you end up with a bit of a raspy voice in the morning. So that's one problem with the lack of air conditioning. Plus, of course, air conditioning dries the air, takes the moisture out, and with this kind of a room, it's very humid and your electronics can suffer. Speaking of electronics and suffering, I haven't dealt with my things in storage yet. The new owner of this place, or the new manager, he did open the door to the storage room because he thought as soon as I arrived I'd want to bring all my stuff out, but I couldn't deal with it when I arrived yesterday. But he opened the door and I glanced inside and it looked pretty scary in there. It wasn't like professional storage. I mean, I left my gear upstairs in the loft, actually. That's where I left all my stuff. But at some point when the new manager took over, they wanted to put all the stuff in storage into one room and lock the door, which I guess in theory is a good idea, but they kind of just threw everything in there in a jumble. So when I opened the door, it was like a bit of a mess, and the bike, instead of sitting nicely up or hanging on a hook or something, was just flopped over kind of on an angle. Lying on top of all this junk, and I'm just wondering whether that put pressure on the rear wheels over time and kind of warped the wheels or warped the rubber of the tire. Who knows? Bikes can get damaged easily, like long-term storage, so I don't have a lot of hope for the condition my bike is in. And not to freak anyone out or anything, this is in Chinatown, by the way. I'm right beside the Pasar Seni MRT station, and Chinatown markets are all through here. The river is right there, and that combination, the outdoor markets, all the food being prepared, a lot of food on the ground being dropped, a lot of sewage tunnels and drainage tunnels because we're right by the river, so there's this like underground tunnels here to carry the water to the river, the markets. This is an old part of Kuala Lumpur, like one of the oldest, and that means, you know what I'm going to say? Rats. There's a lot of rats here. They're in this building, they're in this whole neighborhood. There's probably far more rats than there are people. You just see them. I see them all the time because I'm always sort of aware of them. I look for them. And in the storage room where my bike and gear is, there was like like hail had fallen from the sky. It was just covered in rat droppings. So it's not like people were in there taking care of my stuff in storage. It was just covered in dirt, dust, and rat droppings. So I'm a little nervous that if rats made that room their home, they might have tunneled into all of my bags, chewed through everything, and I'm a bit nervous about that. Plus, all my gear sitting there. I was only supposed to be there for a month or two, and then it was all going to be up there in the loft with like airflow. It's like a big open area. I thought everything would be okay up there for 2 months when I went to Myanmar, and then I was going to come back. But it's been moved into a sealed room, very hot and humid, and it's been nearly 3 years. It's been sitting there, falling apart. Like, I have a really nice tent that I'm sure is complete garbage by now. It's probably just turned into mush. Who knows about my camera lenses? Inside the lenses could be full of mold. Electronics, my portable hard drives, things, all of that could be destroyed. Anyway, we're going to find out maybe today. I'll get in there. Yeah, and that's kind of what's going on. It's funny, for me, when I move into a new place like this, as I said, you have to adapt to the physical surroundings. There's a real learning curve. Very small things you wouldn't normally think about, but when you face a dozen of them constantly, it can add up. So, for example, my door, of course, has a lock and a key, but how does the key go in? Does it go in this way, or does it go in the other way? And then when you want to lock it, does it lock to the right and unlock to the left, or does it lock to the left, unlock to the right? You know, my Airbnb in Georgetown, it took me a long time to get it into the habit. I kept doing it wrong for some reason, and I finally learned which way to turn the key. Okay, that locks, that unlocks. And getting out of the door, which buttons to push. In the bathroom, you want to turn on the water. Like, does the tap go this way or that way? What's the right setting? Because it had a hot water heater. Like, is this boiling hot, or is this too cold? Like, you dial in all the settings for everything and how to open doors and lock things, and then it becomes second nature, and you never have to think about it again until you move to a new place. And here I am in a new hostel. New door code, you have to remember this door, which way does the key go, this way or that way? Which doors, you know, slam shut if you're not careful with them? What do you have to hold carefully? You know, you have to get organized in the room, hang things up and put things in the right place. Oh, light. You may not be able to see it, but it's extremely dim in here, way too dim, because there's only one bare bulb, and it is one of those economy, you know, low wattage bulbs they use to save money. I don't know how much money you end up saving, but what I do is I carry my own light bulb, and I'll eventually switch it out. But recently I didn't pack that well, and my light bulb that I carry in my backpack, it broke. It just popped. So right now I don't have a light bulb. So during the day today, I'll buy my own light bulb, get this room nice and cheery. And you know, you've got to work with all the adapters and electrical cords and the outlets to plug in all your devices and just, you know, make this space livable. The sheets, well, they don't give sheets, but they do have fitted sheets on the mattress, but they're the cheapest ones you can possibly buy. I mean, there's not a speck of cotton in them anywhere. They're just scratchy, uncomfortable nylon, you know, like cheap nylon. But luckily I travel with my own sheets, so I have a fitted sheet on this mattress, nice and comfortable. Then I have my own sheet, cotton sheet, which so I can make the room comfortable. And if there are mosquitoes in here, I can put up my mosquito net. But last night I didn't see any mosquitoes. So yeah, I'm slowly settling into my room, you know, figuring out the routine. And today I have a bunch of stuff to do. Got to get a light bulb, work on a whole bunch of videos, of course, that's never ending. And I guess I'll get into my storage room, bring out my bicycle, bring out my bike trailer, start opening up boxes and try and sort through some things. One funny thing is, my night bag, I am down to my last earplugs, my last set of earplugs. Good timing, because in my bags over here I have like a bag of, I think I bought a bag of like a set of 500 earplugs. You could just buy them in bulk, you know. They're like, I bought them on Lazada a long time ago. And yeah, I just got this big bag of earplugs. And I have a whole, like, couple hundred of them in there, you know, waiting for me. So I get to, if they're still usable, we'll find out. And today, I don't know what else I'm going to do. Yeah, I have people here in Kuala Lumpur I'll, you know, be meeting up with, and that's going to take place over the next few days. One last short story before I shut down for this morning. With the friend who picked me up, like I said, he drove me here. It's really nice of him to do that. And it was nice to have him as a backup with his car because, as I said, I wasn't really sure I had a room here or not. I tried to reserve one, but I wasn't sure whether it actually happened, so I didn't know what kind of a situation I was walking into. I could easily have shown up here and there would be nobody here, or, oh, no, we don't have any rooms, we're full, or who knows. And then I'd have to quickly readjust and find someplace else to stay. So it was nice. You know, my friend said, don't worry, I got your back. You know, if you can't stay here, I've got the car, we'll work it, we'll work the problem, and we'll find a place for you to stay. So that was good. But I got the room, no problem, everything worked out. And then we went for lunch at one of my favorite lunch places, which is the DJI banana leaf curry place, an Indian restaurant just around the corner. Very basic, very simple. They always have a vegetarian buffet in the middle of the room. If you go there at the right time, you know, lunchtime when everything is full, you can get a really nice plate of rice and then all these, you know, veggie and tofu dishes. And it's a very economical meal, very filling, very good. And then they have a series of, you know, self-service meat dishes and seafood dishes and things like that. And then they have table service for drinks. So we went there for lunch. Now, I know that place very well, but it changed quite a bit. I mean, it was the atmosphere was still the same. It was still the basic Vinijaya that I like. The food was still the same, very basic. You know, no foodie is going to go there and rave about the delicate spicing. I mean, this is working food for working people. You know, simple, fast, and lots of it at a good price. You know, that's the kind of place it is. And over the time that I've been going there, over a long period of time, I got to know the staff, at least by sight. I didn't know their names, but they knew me and I knew them. And I would leave Malaysia for a few months, go to Sumatra, and then you know, months later I would come back, and then they say, "Oh, you're back. You know, you're back in Malaysia. Where did you go? What did you do?" And so I knew them by sight. And they had this system where you get rice on your plate, fill up with all the veggies or meat, whatever you want, go sit at your table, and then just as you start to eat, a waiter will come to your table with a pad of paper, and he'll look at your plate and kind of do a mental calculation, you know, how many dishes, what dishes, and write on a slip of paper how much your bill is, and tear that off and give it to you. And then when you're done, you pay on your way out. Very simple procedure. But now they've gotten high tech. Well, they've gotten high tech, and it's all new staff. I didn't recognize a single person there. Everybody was new. I think they bring in workers from India. These guys all kind of looked like they just landed in the country. They just had this look about them, and there's so many of them, and I didn't recognize a single person. And they upgraded their technology, so everything was done on a tablet now. They gave you a piece of plastic with a number on it. That was your digital code. We were table 2, I guess. And then every time we had new food or whatever, a new drink, the guy would come with a tablet, call up our record, and you know, enter it. And then this was transmitted to the cashier. And when we left, we gave him, you know, just the number, and he called up our record, and everything we had, everything that was entered in the tablet showed up, and they gave us the bill. And you can pay with, you know, e-wallet, touch and go, and everything. It's like Vinijaya has gone high tech. It's like the whole world is surging into the future, and I'm being left, you know, farther and farther behind, no matter how hard I try. All right, that is it for my random thoughts for this morning. There's like a million other things I could talk about. I could go on and on, but I'm going to call an end to it there, and yeah, start my day. I've got things to do. Yeah, back in Kuala Lumpur, very exciting. Yeah, every new place is exciting, but Kuala Lumpur is interesting for me because I know it a little bit from other time I've spent here, but I feel like I'm a completely different person now than I was back then, and I'm going to be approaching the city in a new way. So I think it's going to feel like a brand new place for me, you know, to be here. Yeah, feels good. Good to be here. That's it, and have a good day wherever you are and whatever you're doing out there, and I'll see you in the next video.